Ever feel like you're drowning in information? Like you just need to cut to the chase and really understand something new.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
That's what we do here on the Deep Dive.
That's right. Dive deep.
Exactly. And today, we're tackling innovation.
Ooh, exciting.
It is. It is.
Hmm.
But, it's not just about coming up with new ideas.
Right.
We're going deeper than that. We're using William R. Duggan's creative strategy, a guide for innovation.
Ooh, I like this book. A really interesting take on how we approach innovation.
Yeah, and it really resonated with me. Often I feel like there's this disconnect between like the creative process of coming up with new ideas
Right.
and then actually making those ideas work in the real world.
It's the classic problem. You get a room full of people, whiteboard covered in sticky notes, and then what?
Yeah, exactly. And so what I really loved about Duggan's book is that he argues for a unified approach to innovation.
A unified approach.
Yeah, like basically merging creativity and strategy right from the start.
So not just treating them as separate steps. Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Because, I mean, have you ever been in like a brainstorming session and it just feels like everyone's throwing out random
That's
ideas?
all the time.
And then very few of them actually like turn into anything tangible.
It's like a creativity explosion, but without any real direction.
Exactly. And Duggan kind of calls this out, right? He's pretty critical of this traditional brainstorming approach.
He is. He basically argues that relying on, as he puts it, like ideas just popping into your head in a matter of minutes, it's not really the most effective way to generate genuinely innovative solutions.
Yeah. Instead, he proposes that we should approach innovation more like a treasure hunt.
A treasure hunt. Okay, I like the sound of that.
Right. So instead of just brainstorming randomly, we should be actively searching for, as he says, pieces of the puzzle that someone, somewhere, has already solved to some degree.
So learning from what already works.
Exactly. Exactly. And this actually aligns with how our brains really work.
Oh, tell me more about that.
Well, you know how people used to talk about like left brain versus right brain? Like one side is logical, the other's creative?
Right, I remember that.
So it turns out that's kind of an outdated model.
Oh, really? So how do our brains actually function when it comes to creativity and strategy?
Current neuroscience suggests that it's more about a learning and memory model. It's not like these processes are neatly separated in our brains. They're actually interconnected and happening all over the place.
So it's like our brains are already wired for this unified approach that Duggan's talking about?
Exactly. And that's what makes his creative strategy framework so powerful. It taps into this natural way of thinking.
Okay, I'm really intrigued. So how does this framework actually work in practice?
Well, he breaks it down into three phases, a kind of roadmap for your treasure hunt.
I am all ears. Tell me about these phases.
All right, so the first phase is rapid appraisal. And this is where you basically break down the problem you're trying to solve into its most essential elements. You have to understand exactly what you were trying to solve.
Right, makes sense. You can't find the treasure if you don't know what you're looking for.
Exactly. So once you've identified the core elements of your problem, you move on to phase two, which is the what works scan.
Okay, so this is where the treasure hunt really begins.
You got it.
Mhm.
This is where you actively search for examples of solutions that have worked for those specific elements, even if those solutions come from completely different fields.
So, like, if I'm trying to improve, say, customer engagement for my business,
Yeah.
I wouldn't just look at what other businesses in my industry are doing.
Nope. You'd look at how, say, a successful nonprofit built a strong community, or how a video game keeps players engaged for hours. You'd look everywhere.
That's a pretty broad scope.
It is. But that's how you find the really innovative, out-of-the-box solutions.
I see. So you're gathering all these different pieces of the puzzle,
Yeah.
but how do you actually put them together into a coherent solution?
That's where the third phase comes in. Creative combination. This is where you take all those successful elements you've discovered and start experimenting with different ways to combine them to see what new solutions emerge.
Ah, so it's not just about copying what others have done, it's about synthesizing those existing elements in a completely new way.
Exactly. And what's really cool is that Duggan doesn't just stop at critiquing brainstorming.
Oh, is there more?
Oh, yeah. He goes on to, how can I put this? He kind of takes a sledgehammer to a lot of other popular business methodologies.
Whoa, hold on. He's not pulling any punches, is he?
Not really. I mean, he even uses the phrase like slaughtering sacred cows.
Okay, so he's going after some of the big names, the tried and true methods.
Exactly. Like he critiques things like design thinking, mind mapping, even, those approaches that focus on like playful exploration or taking breaks to spark creativity.
Okay, but those methods are pretty popular. They must have some merit, right?
Sure, they can be good at generating ideas, but Duggan argues that they often fall short when it comes to actually selecting the best ideas and turning them into concrete actions.
So you end up with tons of ideas, but no clear path forward.
Exactly. And on the strategy side, he critiques things like SWOT analysis, gap analysis, those kinds of strategic planning frameworks.
I use SWOT analysis all the time. What's his problem with it?
Well, he argues that while these tools are great for analyzing your current situation, they don't actually provide you with a clear method for generating solutions.
Okay, that's a fair point. A SWOT analysis might tell me what my weaknesses are, but it doesn't tell me how to fix them.
Exactly. He calls this the magical leap that a lot of businesses make. They go from analyzing the problem to, somehow coming up with a solution without a clear process for bridging that gap.
So it's like he's saying, hey, analysis is important, but it's only half the equation. You need a way to translate that analysis into actionable innovation.
Absolutely. And that's what creative strategy aims to provide. A complete end-to-end framework for innovation, one that bridges the gap between analysis and creativity, between brainstorming and implementation.
That's a pretty ambitious goal.
It is, but I think that's what makes Duggan's work so important. He's challenging us to rethink how we approach innovation, to move beyond those traditional methods that, frankly, often don't deliver the results we're looking for.
What's really striking me is that his framework doesn't just make intuitive sense. It's also backed by what we're learning about the brain. It really ties back to that idea that creativity and strategy aren't separate functions. They're deeply intertwined. And that's a powerful insight.
It is, and because creative strategy embraces this interconnectedness, it offers a more, I guess you could say, a more prudent way to experiment with new ideas. Yeah, because you're not just throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. You're building on a foundation of proven successes, combining those elements in new and innovative ways. And that means, theoretically, a better chance of achieving a positive return on your investment in innovation.
That makes sense. Instead of relying on pure chance, you're stacking the odds in your favor.
Exactly. It's about making smarter bets, so to speak.
So to wrap this up, it sounds like creative strategy is really about more than just coming up with ideas. It's about changing our entire mindset around innovation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about recognizing that creativity and strategy need to work together seamlessly from the very beginning. It's about learning from what's already worked and systematically combining those elements in new ways to address the challenges we face.
And ultimately, it's about increasing the chances of achieving real, tangible results from our innovation efforts.
Precisely. So here's a thought for you to ponder. Take a moment to really examine the ways you approach innovation in your own life, your work, your personal projects. Are you still relying on those traditional brainstorming sessions? Or are you actively seeking out those pieces of the puzzle that have already proven successful?
It's a good question. I know I'll be thinking about it.
Me too. And maybe by embracing a more unified, strategic approach to creativity, we can all unlock new possibilities and achieve a greater return on our ideas. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.